Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review a Savage World setting, Mars, a savage setting of planetary romance. Now first, a quick side note. I got this document in the Haitian Relief Bundle that came through Drive Through RPG the beginning of the year, in January I think it was. And you donate $20, you got like $1,400 in PDFs. It was great. Well, I finally got around to start poking through these, and it's just when I stumbled upon this game. I didn't know I had it. I almost went out and acquired a new copy because I wanted to read this and didn't know I already had it on my hard drive. The reason is that none of the files that have the name files for all these games I got, these game products, some of them are maps and some are tokens, things like that, have nomenclature that allows you to figure out what is in the file from the PDF name. And we need to fix that. We need to have some kind of universal naming feature used by all gaming companies. If they sell a PDF, it uses this format. So you can look at the name of the PDF and you'll be able to figure out what is in the friggin' document. Very frustrating, folks. Anyone out there who makes gaming PDFs, if you're listening to this, fix that crap and fix it now. Okay, this game takes place, obviously, from the name Mars, on Mars. But this is not the Mars of our world. This is the Mars of Barsoom, Flash Gordon, the Saturday afternoon serials that were seen during the 1930s and the 40s. This is the Mars of fiction. Pure and simple. The Mars of canals that run from pole to pole, that bring water throughout the planet and that allow life to exist on this desert planet peopled with aliens, or aliens to us, and savages and strange and bizarre beasties. So what do you get in this particular setting? Well, the first chapter deals with Mars itself. Ancient Mars, modern Mars, life on Mars, maps of Mars, the Red Kingdoms, the Ape Empire, the Gray Expanse, the Green Wastes, the Dark Below, the Dead Seas, the Canals, Thorn Patches, Oases, the Polar Stations, and a little bit of a small adventure seed, Quest for Vengeance, the story element essentially. And first, I just realized how difficult it is to say Oases. 2 is character development. Making characters and their different concepts, making a hero, the races of Mars. Now we have never different races here. We have red Martians. They're kind of the default human. They look just like us, except they have a red skin tone, running from kind of just very pale red all the way to a really dark, almost a maroon red. We have green Martians, and these are huge, hulking, 7-8 feet tall, with like insect, multi-faceted eyes and huge tusks that come out of their lower jaw and claws. They're barbarians, essentially. White apes, a race of albino gorillas, and any setting that has a race of albino gorillas gets a thumbs up from me. The gray Martians, and these are essentially land octopus. Octopododes, plural, but the proper way of saying that I discovered recently. Octopodes. And they're the aliens that we saw from War of the Worlds, the ones that were in the tripods, that were killed by the common cold. Yeah, they are what you would imagine, brain sacks with tentacles that kind of pull themselves along the ground. Very creepy. We have synth men, which are artificially created beings made by a previous lost era and by the gray men for labor, different kinds of labor. And we have Earthmen, just like us. And of course, they talk about the fact that this is a big world with all kinds of strange and bizarre things, so you could have other races available to you. I think this setting would be very appropriate. For example, you could stick dwarves in here as another race of subterranean green beings very easily. I think they would fit right in. And you could even, I think you can even use elves as some kind of species off in the distance that is just a little different, out of the ordinary. There are a number of species from science fiction and fantasy would fit into this setting without any difficulty whatsoever. The cannibalistic halflings from Dark Sun would be a great fit. Then we talk about skills and edges. a little more fiction. Then we get to gear. They talk about the economies on Mars. Armor. Armor is not common. Mars is a hot planet. Very few races wear a lot of armor. They talk about the armors that are most common on the planet. Weapons. Most of the weapons are pretty common to fantasy and science fiction as far as melee weapons go, because there are a lot of melee weapons here. You have lots of melee weapons, and you have radium weapons, and there's nothing in the middle. There are no firearm era. There are primitive bows, crossbows, swords, clubs, things like that. Then there are really advanced radium and heat guns and things like that. But there's nothing in the middle. They explain that away by the fact that Mars apparently has very little sulfur available to people to make gunpowder, so that era was skipped. So you got people with the sword in one hand and a radium pistol in the other, also very iconically pulp, fiction, Barsoom, Flash Gordon kind of thing. Fits in the genre perfectly. Vehicles, land-based vehicles, plus the sky ships that they have, that soar through the air, kind of like the sky barges that you saw in Star Wars, those kind of things. Land speeders, things like that, powered by radium energy. Then we have heroic rules, NPC rules, bunches of stuff on the actual airships themselves, and some more fiction. Now, this is a pure pulp game. It makes no bones about the fact that you, as a PC, don't die. You can get injured, you can be severely wounded, you can be traumatized, you can be knocked unconscious and kidnapped by the 8 men of, Sector 7 or whatever. But just as in a true serial adventure, the hero was always going to make it, but there was always going to be a cliffhanger at the end of the episode, so you don't know what happened to him until you went back next week. So that's the genre. You have to be comfortable with that. If you want grim and gritty, this is not the setting for you, okay? This is go do something else. This is not what you're going to want to play. Then we have a section on game mastering, the Sword and Planet genre, thematic elements, creating adventures, non-player characters, random adventure generator, which is a pretty decent random adventure generator. I've noticed that amongst Savage World products, a lot of them have decent random generators. This one is not the best. I still think the best one I've seen was probably from Day After Ragnarok. Then a section on bestiary, making it Martian, how to take monsters from other Savage World settings, or even just animals, and using a short chart to make a couple of rolls and modify them so that you could then use them in the Martian setting here, and the players will never know it. Like how to turn a bear into an alien creature, things like that. I've done that in fantasy games myself. I took a bear stats once, gave him some chitinous covering, and physically said it was slightly different, and said on a bite attack that if you fail the con save, he planted an egg in you. So that was just a freak. It didn't really change the challenge rating, and they had no idea what they were fighting, even though I'm using the bear stats. So it was pretty cool. Then we have the Seven Slavers, Slavers of Mars, which is a plot point campaign, 5 stages, and I'm not really into those. I think they're a little too focused. I prefer more of a sandbox environment, which the rest of this product gives me, plus the plethora of genre information we have available to us. So I didn't really read this in any detail, but if you're into plot point campaign concepts, there's an entire chapter here just for you. Then we have encounter tables and non-player characters. And encounter tables are very useful for creating encounters randomly. Some just things that will help you, just little plot points. Like little paragraph long, like this, and this page, a couple of pages of these, so that it's just seed. You know what I mean? And you can take them and very easily change them or reuse them, and by filing off the serial numbers, and the players will never know that you're doing it. Because if you're using Kidnap Princess in episode 4, then you're using Kidnap Mad Scientist in episode 12. If you've changed it enough, they're probably not going to notice this. All right, it's just another kidnapped person, and that's part of the tropes that they're coming to play this game for. And then there's character sheet. Now, one of the things I think you're going to need to do if you're going to run this setting is you're going to need to change the names, because the people living on Mars aren't going to call that planet Mars. And they're not going to refer to themselves as red men, or green men, or gray men, or white apes. They're going to have names for themselves. So you're not going to have to come up with an entire, lexicon, but just a short list of what the people on Mars call some major things that don't sound like they're from Earth, and you'd be good to go. Now they do suggest in this that you don't use certain of the arcane backgrounds, because like, divine magic, arcane magic, shamanistic kind of thing, all those kinds of things don't really have a place in this, and they don't. But they do suggest that, both weird science and psionics can. Now, weird science is you're going to have that for the gray men, the little octopus guys. You really need to have them be weird scientists. They've invented the walkers, the tripod walkers. They need a reason to be able to do that. And I think it's a great background for Earthmen who've come to Mars to adventure, because they're the mad scientists that built the vehicles or the devices that got them from Earth to this location. And you're going to be playing this in the era of probably like 1850 to 1950. Most likely sometime like, I'd say 1860 to 1930. Those are the eras you really need to be aiming for. This is not a game that you're going to be playing in the year 2010. And psionics, I think, if you add psionics in, sorry for the pause, if you add psionics in, this has a really good dark sun feel. And the psionics, I think, are a perfect foil for the gray man's weird science. Now, I wouldn't necessarily make it available to everybody. It'd be a small population. You may even want to restrict it to one particular race, for example, the red men get it. Okay? But, maybe the white apes have very rare individuals that tap into it, but the green men can't, and the gray men don't have the right brains for it or something, you know what I mean? But, I think the psionics really has a good fit. And if you want to make it more common, it really does feel like Dark Sun, and that's okay, because Dark Sun's a great setting. And I think that would be a great addition to, and fit right in to this whole genre and all the tropes that it has available to you in this setting. So this is a great book. I really enjoyed it. A lot of the art is excellent. There are a few pieces that are a little high schoolish. But most of the art is good. It's very evocative of the book covers that you used to see on the John Carpenter of Mars books. I think that was very, very appropriate. They did a good job at emulating that style. I enjoyed reading it, like I said, and it covers everything you need. I think that you'd be able to borrow quite heavily from other Savage World products, and even some of the things out there that are done by fans. So I think you could very easily slap together a campaign to run without any difficulty at all. And I think that you're really going to do yourself a favor if you like that era, that pulp era, and you like the whole John Carpenter, Flash Gordon thing. This is a game that you're definitely going to want to pick up.